Stop. Whatever you're doing right now, stop. What I'm about to say is not for everyone listening. It is for you. You have been carrying something so quietly that almost no one around you has noticed the weight of it. You smile, you answer, you keep moving, and still there is a part of you that feels as though it has been standing at an unseen door for far too long, waiting for it to open. You have not been imagining that ache. You have not been exaggerating that pressure. You have not been losing your peace for no reason. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you will understand why this feeling has followed you, what it actually means, and why the moment you are in is not empty at all. By the time we close, you're going to recognize the signs that have been circling your life with unusual precision. You're going to understand the pattern underneath those signs, the one that has made you question yourself more than once. And you're going to hear a declaration spoken over you that I believe reached you by appointment, not by accident. You will know why certain moments have felt heavier than they should have. You will know why some conversations no longer fit the shape of your heart. You will know why the old way of living no longer feels possible, even if you have not yet found the new way to stand. This message is not here to entertain you. It is here to recognize you. It is here because something in you is already awake, and heaven does not ignore what is already awake. And I need you to hear this gently. When a word like this finds you at the exact moment your defenses are tired, that is not random. That is appointment. Something has been happening to you, and it has been happening in ways that are easy to dismiss if you are not paying attention. You have been waking at the same hour again and again, sometimes with no dream you can name, only a sense that your spirit has been interrupted by a message too soft for the daylight to hold. You have felt emotional waves rise without permission. One moment you are steady, the next moment you are moved by something you cannot explain, and you do not even know whether to call it grief, relief, or recognition. It comes and it goes like a tide that refuses to ask your mind for consent. You have also noticed attention. You need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you. And strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. Is that certain conversations no longer satisfy you. What once sounded normal now feels thin. What once felt familiar now feels rehearsed. You listen, you nod, you answer, but somewhere inside you there is a quiet withdrawal, as if your soul has stopped pretending that every room can feed it. And then there are the signs that keep appearing in ordinary places. Repeated numbers, repeated patterns, repeated reminders that seem to follow you from a receipt to a clock, to a plate, to a page, as if the world itself is leaning closer because it knows you are finally ready to pay attention. None of that is weakness, none of that is confusion, none of that is a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the opposite. These are confirmations. The waking hour is confirmation. The emotional wave is confirmation. The hollow conversation is confirmation. The repeating number is confirmation. What feels like disruption is often alignment beginning to speak in the only language you can hear before words arrive. You may have thought you were losing something. What if you are actually being separated from what can no longer carry your weight? You may have thought you were becoming more sensitive for no reason. What if your sensitivity is not fragility, but discernment, sharpening in the dark? You may have thought your fatigue means you are failing. What if your fatigue is the body of your life telling the truth that your spirit already knows? Take a breath with me. Let that settle into the part of you that has been waiting the longest to be spoken to honestly. If even one of those signs just landed in you, if your shoulders dropped at any point while I was naming them, type the number 888 in the comments. 888 is the frequency of overflow. And in this moment, it simply marks agreement with what your spirit has already been saying. Type 888, then come right back to me. Because there is something beneath those signs, and that deeper layer is where the real recognition begins. Beneath those signs is one single pattern, and it is more intimate than fear, more stubborn than distraction, and more exhausting than you have been willing to admit. You have been trying to force open what was never meant to be pulled by strain. You have been pulling on ropes that are no longer attached to anything. You have been bringing serious hunger to a root that cannot feed it. You have been giving the best of yourself to systems that only know how to return the smallest portion and call it enough. That is why things have felt delayed. That is why effort has not always produced peace. That is why the same inner pressure keeps returning even after you have done everything you know how to do. The pattern is not laziness. The pattern is not chaos. The pattern is not that you are somehow less chosen, less capable, or less worthy than the people who seem to move more easily. The pattern is that you learned to keep reaching even when the door in front of you was no longer the right door. You stayed loyal to motion. You stayed loyal to proving. You stayed loyal to being useful. You stayed loyal to being the one who does not stop, the one who does not collapse, the one who makes something happen, even when the soul is asking for a different kind of answer. And because you are sincere, you turned that pattern into identity. You called it discipline. You called it faithfulness. You called it maturity. Sometimes it was all three, but underneath all three was a quieter habit. Believing that if you pushed just a little harder, the thing meant for you would finally respond. Here is what I need you to see. The burden was not only in the effort, the burden was in the misunderstanding. You were treating a threshold like a problem to solve. You were treating a return like a construction project. You were treating a holy pause as though it were a failure to perform. That is why so much of your inner life has felt split. One part of you keeps pushing, another part of you keeps going still. One part of you wants to force clarity, another part of you knows that clarity has to arrive, not be hunted. No one blamed you for learning this pattern. Most of us were taught it by the way we had to survive, but if you keep living inside it, it will keep taking more from you than it gives back. And that is the silent cost. It drains your wonder. It tightens your breathing. It makes your mind suspicious of peace. It trains your heart to expect that rest is a trap and that gentleness is an interruption. Stay with me, because there is a layer beneath this one, and it is the one that explains why the pattern took root so deep. I want to show you something now, and I want to hold it carefully. Imagine your life as a courtyard that was always yours, even before you knew how to enter it. Not a public space, not a borrowed space, a courtyard with gates that were meant to swing open easily, with air moving through it, with room for peace to walk freely across the stone. But at some point, long before you had language for it, that courtyard was covered. Not destroyed, covered, dimmed, quieted. The gate still existed, but the hinges learned silence. The light still existed, but something settled over it. The space did not disappear. It was simply treated as though it were too sacred to be noticed. And because you were young when it happened, or vulnerable when it happened, or simply unaware of what was being taken from you, you learned to live as though the covered courtyard was normal. You kept walking around the edges. You kept arranging your life in the smaller rooms. You kept calling that smaller life your real life, because it was the only one you knew how to maintain. But the courtyard was never gone. This is why you sometimes feel a strange grief when nothing visible has been lost. This is why certain joys almost bring tears before they fully arrive. This is why praise, stillness, worship, beauty, or even a simple moment of quiet can touch something so old in you that it aches. You are not only responding to the present, you are remembering the courtyard. And the reason the ache has been so difficult to explain is that the thing beneath it is older than your explanations. It belongs to a place where you learned to dim yourself in order to remain safe, useful, acceptable, or unthreatening. It belongs to a time when your own radiance may have felt risky, so you reduced the light, not because you were false, but because you were trying to survive. That is why your voice sometimes feels smaller than your calling. That is why your yes sometimes comes with hesitation. That is why your body can recognize spaciousness before your mind trusts it. You were not made to remain covered. Something in you has been waiting for the gate to move again, and look closely now, because the gate is not asking you to force it. It is asking you to remember it. The courtyard begins to wake the moment you stop treating the cover as permanent, the moment you stop calling dimness your identity, the moment you realize that what was quieted can be restored without becoming loud, and what was hidden can return without needing to perform. If the image of that courtyard just settled somewhere deep in you, if you can feel that there is more to your story than survival and more to your future than repetition, type the words "I am home" in the comments. Let those words mark the place where the remembering begins. Type it. Then come back to me, because that courtyard is not a fantasy, it is a return. And the solution for you is not a list of harder tasks. It is not more pressure. It is not one more attempt to manufacture certainty from exhaustion. The solution is to come back to what was always waiting beneath the noise. You do not need to earn your way into the open space. You do not need to prove that you are ready enough, healed enough, or disciplined enough to stand there. What you need is permission to receive what has already been prepared for you. You need the kind of receiving that does not grasp. You need the kind of stewardship that does not panic. You need the kind of inner posture that says, with quiet dignity, "This is mine to tend, not mine to force." So begin simply. Begin with the morning seal. Before the day starts speaking for you, sit still for a moment and name one thing you are releasing back into God's hands. Not a performance, not a vow, just a seal over your first breath. Then practice the frequency audit. Once in the day, notice what voices leave you expanded and what voices leave you compressed. Notice what conversations make the courtyard feel covered again and what words make the gate move in you. This is not about suspicion, it is about stewardship. You do not have to become someone else to live this way. You only have to stop confusing strain with sincerity. Your spirit already knows the difference between effort and alignment. Your body already knows the difference between pressure and peace. Your heart already knows when it is being asked to carry what was never meant for it. And once you begin to tend what is yours without striving, you will notice something beautiful. The courtyard does not demand that you become a new person. It simply welcomes the one who has been standing outside the cover for so long. You may not know yet how everything will unfold. You do not need to. You only need to return. If this message has confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words, not as a metric, as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Sit with that for a moment, let it settle. What is real does not need to shout. And there is someone in your life who came to mind while I was speaking. Someone quietly tired, someone secretly seeking, someone holding a posture nobody around them sees, someone who looks composed on the outside but has been carrying a hidden ache for longer than they admit, someone who needs this exact reminder that the door is not closed just because they have been standing in a covered place. Send this to them, not as a recommendation, as a delivery. The same way it reached you tonight by appointment, Before this closes, type the words "I am chosen" in the comments, not as a wish, not as a hope, as a confirmation. The agreement forming in your hearing is not fragile, and your spirit is not late. Type it slowly. Let your fingers do what your soul is already learning to do. You are confirmed, you are gathered, you are being restored, you are not forgotten, you are not behind. You are not excluded from what was spoken over you. You are being led back to the open place. You are being taught how to stand without strain. You are being kept while you remember. Right now, all across the world, there are others hearing these words and recognizing the same quiet movement inside themselves. You are not alone in this. You are part of a remembering that does not need applause to be real, and that is exactly why it is real. It is sealed. You are not being asked to force the next step. You are being asked to recognize that the next step is already waiting for you. What has been moving through your life is not a demand for performance. It is a call back to what was covered, not lost. It is a call back to what was quieted, not destroyed. It is a call back to the place inside you that still remembers how to open without strain. And that is why the answer has felt strange to you. You have spent so long living as if your life must be pushed into shape that gentleness now feels almost too simple to trust. Yet the truth remains. What is yours does not require violence to arrive. What is yours does not require panic to remain. What is yours does not require you to become smaller in order to hold it. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not arriving after the door has closed. You are standing in the exact season where the cover begins to lift, and what was always there begins to breathe again. So do not rush past this moment. Do not trivialize what is happening inside you. Do not reduce this to mood, coincidence, or imagination. The deeper work in you is not asking to be explained away. It is asking to be honored. And when you honor it, you begin to notice something holy and steady. The life you have been trying to build through strain was never meant to be built that way. It was meant to be received in truth, tended in peace, and held with reverence. This is why the message came with such directness. This is why the words found you before you had time to prepare yourself. This is why the pressure in you can finally soften without becoming empty. You are being returned to a way of living that does not require you to keep proving your right to be here. You do not need to prove your hunger. You do not need to prove your sincerity. You do not need to prove your obedience. You only need to stop confusing the cover for the courtyard. There is a quiet dignity in that recognition, because once you see it, you can no longer call the smaller room your true home. Once you see it, you can no longer mistake survival for identity. Once you see it, you can no longer believe that the dryness is all there is. Let that settle. The gate is not broken, the light is not gone, the courtyard is not empty. It has simply waited for your attention. And now that your attention is here, the first thing that begins to happen is not dramatic, it is tender. You become less willing to abandon yourself for the sake of speed. You become less willing to call every delay a denial. You become less willing to hand your peace over to anything that speaks louder than truth. That is a turning. That is a return. That is the beginning of rest that actually restores. If this message has reached the place where your own inner knowing has been waiting, then let the next words be written softly into you. You are being gathered, not scattered. You are being clarified, not erased. You are being strengthened, not hardened. You are being prepared for a life that fits your spirit instead of asking your spirit to shrink for it. And I want to say this with tenderness, because some part of you may still be afraid of hope. The hope in you is not foolish. The hope in you is not naive. The hope in you is evidence that the courtyard still lives. So breathe, not as an exercise, as a surrender. Breathe and let the old pressure lose its grip. Breathe and let the false urgency fall away. Breathe and let your heart remember that it does not have to be afraid of spaciousness. You do not need to know everything tonight. You only need to know that you are not being abandoned in this unfolding. The same presence that found you in the covered place is the presence that will teach you how to stand in the open place. You will not need to earn the open place. You will not need to perform for the open place. You will not need to apologize for being restored. The restoration belongs to you because you belong to the one who remembers your name even when you forget your own steadiness. And that means your answer can be simple now. Not simple because it is small, but simple because it is true. Return. Return to quiet. Return to truth. Return to the courtyard. Return to the gate that opens without struggle. Return to the voice that no longer has to be dimmed. Return to the place where your yes is no longer a burden. If there is a small yes rising in you as you hear this, do not dismiss it. Small yeses are often the beginning of the greatest recoveries. They do not arrive with noise. They arrive with recognition. They arrive with the strange peace of realizing that you have been called by name all along. You may have spent years learning how to endure. Now you are learning how to receive. That is not a lesser path. It is the path that lets endurance become wisdom and wisdom become rest. Let the older pattern loosen. Let the covered place open. Let the courtyard receive the morning again. You are not the version of yourself that had to stay dim to stay safe. You are the one who can stand in the light and remain whole. You are the one who can walk through the gate without fear. You are the one who can stop bracing for the loss of what was always meant to bless you. And because this has been spoken into you, it will not leave you the same way it found you. It will keep unfolding. It will keep echoing. It will keep calling you back every time strain tries to pretend it is wisdom. Take the next breath as if it belongs to you. Take the next moment as if it has been prepared for you. Take the next step as if the ground beneath it is faithful. You are being led and you are being held. You are being restored and you are being readied. You are being invited back into what is yours. Before this closes, I need you to hear the deepest seal of all. The life that is opening before you is not asking for your performance. It is asking for your presence. It is asking for your willingness to let the cover lift. It is asking for your courage to believe that the courtyard was real even before you saw it again. And here is the most important part. Once you begin to live from that place, you will no longer need to chase the feeling that you are chosen. You will know it in the steadiness of your steps. You will know it in the softness of your breathing. You will know it in the way your heart no longer flinches at peace. You are chosen. You are held. You are restored. You are remembered. You are being brought home to yourself. You are being brought home to the place where your spirit no longer has to perform to be allowed to exist. Right now, all across the world, there are hearts hearing this same recognition and feeling the same quiet lifting, the same holy loosening, the same unforced return. You are one of them. You are not alone in this hour, and you never were. It is sealed. You are not ending. You are crossing. What has opened in you does not close just because the last line was spoken. It stays, it breathes. It keeps asking you to live from what you have now seen. And that is the real mercy in this hour. You do not have to manufacture the next chapter. You only have to stop resisting the chapter that is already unfolding beneath your hands. The old pressure can leave now. The old covering can loosen now. The old fear can stop naming the room now. You have been given enough light for the next faithful step, and that is all you were ever meant to carry at once. Not the whole road, not every answer, just enough light to keep moving without losing yourself to strain. So receive this with quietness. You are not being asked to become louder. You are being asked to become truer. You are not being asked to hurry. You are being asked to stay near the place where your spirit is no longer splitting itself in two. There is a kind of peace that only arrives after recognition. It does not erase the past. It simply removes the old authority from it. And once that happens, the wound no longer gets to define the shape of your obedience. You can move differently now. You can choose differently now. You can rest differently now, not because everything is finished, but because something has already been settled in you. Do not return to the smaller room just because it was familiar. Do not return to the covered courtyard just because you learned how to survive there. Do not return to the old way of gripping what should have been received. You know too much now. You have seen too clearly now. You have heard too deeply now. And the deepest layer of this moment is simple. The life waiting for you does not require performance. It requires presence. It requires you to let yourself be found in the open. That is why the words keep coming back to this same place in you. They are not circling for emphasis alone. They are circling because something in you is finally ready to remain open without fear of being emptied. You are not empty. You are making room. You are not weak. You are softening. You are not lost. You are being gathered. Let those three truths stand together. Let them stand without apology. Let them stand like a doorway that has always known your shape. If you have felt the temptation to go numb again, to explain away what you sensed, to reduce the holy to the ordinary, resist that pull gently. Not with force, with truth. The moment deserves truth more than defense. You have been trained by strain for a long time. Now you are being trained by peace. That training is slower, but it lasts longer. It does not burn through you. It builds in you. It does not demand that you prove your worth in the moment. It teaches your whole being how to dwell without fear. And dwelling is different from surviving. Surviving keeps watch all night. Dwelling allows morning to arrive. Surviving always expects loss. Dwelling can receive what comes. Surviving grips the gate. Dwelling opens it. You can feel the difference already. That is why this conclusion is not a closing in the usual sense. It is a handing back. It is a release of what never belonged to your spirit in the first place. It is a return of your inner room to its rightful peace. So let the silence after these words be kind to you. Let it remind you that not every sacred moment needs noise to prove itself. Some of the holiest things in your life will arrive without announcement, settle without spectacle, and remain without explanation. That is not lesser. That is deeper. You have learned how to endure the unopened door. Now you are learning how to honor the door while it opens. You have learned how to carry tension. Now you are learning how to carry presence. You have learned how to stay useful. Now you are learning how to stay available. And that change is not cosmetic. It is spiritual. It is structural. It is the difference between living as though you are trying to become what you already are, and living as though you finally believe the truth spoken over you. So hear this as a blessing and not as an instruction. May your breathing become steadier than your fear. May your steps become gentler than your striving. May your heart become more confident in peace than it ever was in panic. May you remember that the courtyard was never dead. May you remember that the gate was never gone. May you remember that the covering was never the final word. You are being restored in layers. You are being restored in quiet. You are being restored in a way that no one can rush and no one can steal. And because this restoration is real, it will show itself in ordinary places first, in the way you answer differently, in the way you pause before you overgive, in the way you stop apologizing for needing clarity, in the way you feel less compelled to perform certainty when what you need is honesty. That is the fruit of return. That is the evidence of the open place. That is what it looks like when the soul comes home to itself without drama. Now keep this close. The life ahead of you is not asking for a perfected version of you. It is asking for the present version of you, the honest version of you, the version that no longer confuses covering with belonging. You belong in the open. You belong in the light. You belong in the peace that does not punish you for being tender. You belong in the place where your spirit does not have to fold itself smaller to attention. You need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.